Like, I try not to judge other people about what they're drinking because, there's a beer out there for everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there going, there's no way that the only booze in this house that we're drinking throughout this whole dinner is going to be lime flavored and go with turkey.
Amanda here, and welcome to episode 101 of Great Beer Adventure. I can't believe it, guys. We're past 100. 100, we were waiting, and then 101. We're here. Things are different, and things are so different that it's not just Amanda here. I'm going to pause. I'm going to say, be prepared for a new format, and just kind of go with it. It'll become second nature to you.
Let that new format wash over you like a cool breeze.
Exactly.
Welcome.
Let it just flow right over you. So, part of the new format is we're actually going to bring... normally it's going to be one of you, most likely, because, schedules in life. But today I wrangled both of my new semi-permanent co-hosty type lady wonderfulnesses to one table.
Wow, that is a title.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes, some cards with that, please. Actually, just one that says Wonderfullness with my name on the other side.
This is
I'm just here to bring some light to your
otherwise
life.
known as Wonderfullness.
I'm the Wonderfullness.
The Wonderfullness.
Oh.
Again with the.
Those are good. I will not be getting those for you for your Christmas presents.
Well, I'm disappointed.
You'd make a good magician, I feel like. And now, the Wonderfullness.
So, the ladies, if you don't recognize their
making
voice...
this beer disappear.
Oh, goodness. Might have been a bad mistake, folks. Before we continue on, let me just introduce them. If you don't recognize their voices, maybe you should go back and listen to a couple of the episodes. Because first we have Heidi Geis. Thank you so much for joining in on this.
No, thank you. I'm Heidi Geis. This is my voice.
No, it's not. And also, Ashley, thank you so much for coming back to the table and continuing to drink beer with me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm Ashley. This is also my voice. Amanda regrets her decision.
I completely regret my decision. It's all right. We're going to go with this. We're going to at least try this new format out through the summer, and you can let us know what you think of it.
Buckle up, listeners.
The Wonderfullness is coming.
The Wonderfullness is coming to wash over your eardrums.
So each episode will continue to have a theme related to it or a question that really drives the conversation. And today's question / theme, or however you want to do it, is what is your craft beer aha moment? So I thought, what better way to kick off these co-hosting deals with you telling us your craft beer aha moments. Now, Heidi, you joked before about dropping a beer and going, ha! That's not what I mean. No more.
Come on.
Also,
I have those all the time.
Yeah, that's true. But what was the first one? That's what we want to know.
Let's not talk about the time you dropped the beer and you cried. Let's talk about that time when you realized that craft beer was this delicious, wonderful beverage that you could magically make disappear.
Oh, I'll go first. This one's really easy. Hello, listeners. Ashley, washing back over your ear holes. Buckle up. So, my first craft beer aha moment, I think I was probably like 20. Mm-hmm. My only exposure to beer up until that point had been like college parties at art school, or I did a year up at Orono. There was a lot of Natty Light, and it was pretty disgusting. Like, it smelled like pee, it looked like pee, it tasted what I imagine urine would also taste like.
I would imagine. I don't really know, but
let's make that clear. I don't actually know. I'm just kind of...
That really makes sense.
I'm just guessing that it might. I mean, I assume it tastes just as bad as Natty Light does. And I thought beer was really gross, and, just to me, it wasn't super appealing. And when I was 20 or 21, maybe I think I was 20, I got a job working on a yacht that went up and down the East Coast, and the first mate was really into anchor steam. Oh. And my first day, he gave me an anchor steam after we had docked the boat for the night, and it was the first time I had really had a beer that tasted good and kind of smelled good, and the first time I'd had a beer where I was like, oh, I would like to drink more of this. this isn't urine-like. It doesn't smell like urine. It doesn't taste like urine.
That's what you look for in a good beer. You don't
Yeah,
want anything-
it's good
Does
if
this
it doesn't
taste like urine?
pee.
No, I'll take
it. Yeah.
If you gift Ashley beer, make sure it's not urine flavored.
Please and thank you.
So Heidi, do you have any stories that include urine? I mean, no. What is your craft beer?
I have a lot of urine stories, actually. It's funny, craft beer, because I, too, my first experiences with beer weren't that exciting. And so I never was light, crappy Coronas and... Sorry, Corona, I love you. But, so I never got into it. And I think a few times I'd had good craft beer, but I was drinking with people that didn't know craft beer. So there was no conversation. I didn't really think of it. I didn't really pay attention to the flavors that were happening. So probably not until a few years ago when I think it was Epic Brewing. I had something from them when I was in Ohio. And I started very slowly getting into beer, mostly dark stuff at first. But
it makes sense. Last night we were having a conversation. Heidi and I sometimes drink beers and hang out. We have too, also, Ashley.
That's true.
It's just what you do. You drink beers and you hang out. But last night you were telling me that you were a nymph.
oh, God.
She's not fully, grown into her tick form. She's just a tiny little tick nymph.
I'm going to be there someday.
No, like a fairy nymph type of thing. Not like a
Right now I'm a lovely nymph.
I don't know why I went immediately to blood-sucking arachnids. I'm sorry.
But anyways, it makes sense that you would be a dark beer drinker at first, to me.
It's true.
It's all
I like dark things. Well, coffee. I'm a big espresso fan, and I definitely can appreciate really good coffee, so I think that was sort of my gateway actually into beer, which is interesting. Yeah.
So
I
later
think that's so funny. I think for a lot of people it's the opposite. They kind of start light and then go darker. But if you love espresso and dark, strong coffees,
Right. Dark men.
dark men,
You have a dark heart.
dark men, dark hearts, dark souls.
You have dark intentions.
In fact, later on in this episode, viewers are going to... viewers. They're not viewers. They're listeners. Yeah.
Where are they?
Well, we need to give them a photo to look
I'm
at us
wearing
they're
nice
listening.
lipstick. Hi.
I speak with Carla, the beer babe, and she actually tells me about a really great story about her and her dad and how craft beer kind of, changed their relationship a little bit. And in the end of that conversation, we go on and we talk about people finding their craft beers. And I think that, it makes perfect sense that if you're really into espressos, that was your way into beer.
So true.
Yeah. For me, I guess you could consider me pretty basic. I love me some good pumpkin fudge and lattes.
Oh, you basic bee.
I know, pretty much. So my gateway definitely was the Shipyard Pumpkinhead. Now it's too sweet for me. I like to cut it with a good dark stout.
A shot of rum and a cinnamon sugar rim.
Nope.
The Wonderfullness is back. She wants to sugar everything.
Well, this has been super fun, ladies, and not at all scary. But let's thank you so much for sharing your craft beer aha moments. We're actually going to listen to a bunch of other folks tell us their craft beer aha moments.
Woohoo! So I'm Catherine Hogue, Massachusetts, Rhode Island sales manager for Stony Creek Brewery, based out of Branford, Connecticut. I'm originally from Denver, so my aha moment that started this whole train was that I had a Firestone Parabola, and I fell in love. So I sort of went varsity level craft before I worked my way back down to Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and Odell's and Avery and all the delicious New Belgium craft beers, and started with Parabola. That was my aha. That's why I'm here now.
Hey, my name is JP. All right, so I was in the mountains of North Carolina, just outside of Asheville, and snuck into a bar for the first time in my life. Happened to be a brewery, Pisgah Brewery, just outside of Asheville, and they had what was it? This was really my first ever craft beer. I didn't know what I was getting into, but a Jack Apple Ale. And one sip, I was in love, and I spent 2 years trying to go back, and it's now been 8 years, and I haven't gotten to go back, and I need it. It's been a long time. Now I can go in the front door, yeah. I don't have to dodge the security.
Right. So I'm Sean. I live in Boston now, but growing up I was at Michigan State. And my first kind of aha beer moment was drinking Oberon from Bell's Brewery. And I really just loved it, and then kind of started going for craft beers after that. I think it was just at a bar one night, and it was just looking for something different than like the normal, major labels I was drinking, and yeah, my buddies were drinking it, so we just drank it, and I liked it. Yeah.
My name is Katie Bell. I'm from Chicago originally, but now I live in Boston, and my aha beer moment was when everybody dragged me to Harpoon to experience the Boston brewery, and I fell in love with Harpoon beer, and now I love going to breweries. Wonderful.
I'm Stu Kendall from Chicago. My aha moment with craft beer was learning how alcoholic it can sometimes be. I can remember bringing home a 12-pack of craft brew, kind of my first craft beer experience, and thinking, I can drink this, no biggie. I think the next thing I knew, I woke up with a pizza that had been charred in the oven all night. I was like, aha.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much.
My name is Joe DeVanna. I'm representing Jack's Abbey Craft Lagers. My first craft beer aha moment was probably after graduating college. I only drank probably like Blue Moon, and I started off with Bud Light, then Blue Moon, and then I visited the Harpoon Brewery in Boston. And we toured the whole facility, and we tried every beer that they had on draft, and I said, like, oh my God, like, this is what beer is supposed to be like, and that got me into brewing my own beer and into the craft beer movement. So that was my craft beer aha moment.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'm John Lenzini. I'm co-founder and head brewer at Schilling Beer Company. The aha moment. I was blessed to live in Germany as a student, and so I think that was what turned me on to real full flavored beers. Was that early experience as a 21-year-old drinking real beer, and then coming back to the U.S. and saying, if I want to have that kind of beer, I got to make it.
All right, I'm Katie.
And I'm Erin.
Okay, so my craft beer aha moment was when we moved to Portsmouth together after college, and we started to try all the different breweries and the beers up there, and we just decided that we like it.
We went to Smutty Nose for a tour before we even moved there because we had a day off from school and we wanted to go do a brewery tour. So Smutty Nose was probably the first craft brewery that we went to that we really liked. So now we do them all the time.
Okay, and now my last question for you. Okay, what is your craft beer aha moment?
Oh, that's tough. I think it probably, as for a lot of people, has to go to like a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Just like when I finally got over the taste of it, because starting out of college, everybody's drinking the craft beer, and then my dad was drinking the Sierra Nevada, and it took me like 3 or 4 of them to really kind of actually be able to stomach it and like it. But then that really kind of changed everything for me and started it all, and now I'm here. It's great.
Now, this isn't on my list, but I just wanted to know, you kind of have an interesting story. We met in Maine.
Yep, we met in Maine.
And you left. So can you kind of just tell me, like, a brief timeline of, that?
Sure, yeah. So I was a high school science teacher for the last 5 years and was living up in Maine, and then got my wife made me get a summer job. So the summer job that I chose to take was working with the Maine Brew Bus, which was awesome because I got to, give tours of breweries and really get into the industry. And I was starting to homebrew at that time, so I, really fell in love with craft beer and out of love with teaching. And so my wife works at the hospital, and she got a fellowship down in Winston-Salem. So when we moved down there this past summer, I decided I was going to be done with teaching and start working in a brewery, and I managed to find one that was just starting up. And so now I'm running a brewery in Winston-Salem, having no experience at all, just being a high school science teacher. Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we are back with Ashley and Heidi, and we are going to ask a little bit of a trivia question here before we kick it off to our sponsors. When we come back from that, we'll give you the answer to the trivia question, and we'll see what the ladies think the answer is before I actually reveal. So while we are away, ladies, I would love it if you would think about where the word bridal comes from.
For like a
Spell
horse
it.
or lady?
Yes.
Like weddings, bridal.
Can you please say it in a sentence?
The bridal party is the bomb freaking amazingness.
You mean wonderfulness?
Yes. So let's listen in for our sponsors, and then I will let you tell us what you think it might be. Today's episode is brought to you by the Beer Geek Retreat. It is the Beer Geeks Don't Miss event of the summer, presented by Thomas Point Beach and Campground in Brunswick, Maine. This event is presented by Thomas Point Beach in partnership with us here at Great Beer Adventure. Now, I am sitting in a very loud tasting room, but I mean, yeah, it's what's supposed to be happening, right? Drinking beer, talking about beer, planning beer events. So I am sitting here with Michael, the owner of Thomas Point Beach and Campground. Michael, I would like to know, why is Thomas Point Beach and Campground the perfect spot for this event?
Because we think it's a great spot for this kind of event. For one, because we're biased and we think we're the perfect spot for really any kind of event. But I haven't seen any other venues that really offer, as much. I mean, you've got camping as part of your ticket. You've got the beach. We've got disc golf, ample event space for lectures and activities. And you won't know this unless you've been there, but we're only like a mile away from town, but you feel like you're removed from everything. I mean, it's a perfect combination without giving up, any of the amenities of having a town close by, but also feeling like you're removed from everything to really enjoy this kind of atmosphere and these kind of people.
We're looking forward to it. If you would like more information on the Beer Geek Retreat, head over to beergeekretreat.com. So if you folks, you listeners, have happened to forget what the question was, it was, where does the word bridle come from?
What do you call a herd of brides? The answer is a bridle.
No, you're both wrong. The word bridle comes from the 19th century Englishmen who took out their mates for a final bride ale the day before their wedding.
Oh.
Darn tricky questions.
I'm glad you clarified that, because I was like, I don't know what bridal anything has to do with beer. It's called a bridal party when we see a herd of wild brides.
See,
together.
a bundle of brides. They're like standing side by side.
Right.
They're all dressed the same.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. A bundle of brides. All right, we are going to kick it off to our very first correspondent. Something new that we're adding. We're actually going out somewhere into the world.
In the wild.
In the wild.
Where the wild bridals are.
Yes, and we're going to learn about a brand new, to us, potentially, maybe, at least to the show, brewery. So, take it away, correspondent.
Thanks, Amanda. This is Jack, and I'm the lead correspondent for the Great Beer Adventure. And I wanted to share a conversation that I had with Glenn Golden from the Jailhouse Brewing Company in Hampton, Georgia. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great. So you guys have a interesting story here, and so just as a brief introduction of who you are and your company, could you tell us a little bit more about your history here in Hampton, which is south of Atlanta?
Sure.
And how you kind of came up with the name Jailhouse.
So the one question we get often is, why do you have a brewery in Hampton? Because Hampton's a small town, population maybe 7,000 or so, and it's south of Atlanta, kind of somewhat off the beaten path. So a lot of people ask why open a brewery in Hampton. I grew up in Hampton, so this is home to me. Just before the brewery, I was working on Cherry Street, where we're located, in a different capacity, and I saw this building every day, and it's an old building. Old brick building. It was in disarray, and it needed someone to, kind of come in and do something with it. And it spoke to me. So I would check it out. I would look in. I'd, sneak around in here before we actually purchased it, and just kind of dream about, what I could do in here. And I was homebrewing at the time too. I grew up in a small family business my whole life. So entrepreneurship was sort of instilled in me. It's just something that I did, or that I thought about all the time. And so homebrewing, I really enjoyed, and I spent a lot of time doing it. So after reading books like Brewing Up a Business from Sam Calagione and Beer School from the Brooklyn Brewery, that was sort of the push that I needed to step forward and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this for real. My wife and we talked about it for 2 years and did as much research as we possibly could in that period of time, and trying to figure out how we were going to go about opening a brewery. And we had some good opportunity come our way. Number one was this building, and number two was our brewing equipment that came from an old brewery that was in our same county. So it was very approachable. It was easy to get access to. And quite honestly, at the time, it was very affordable. You try and buy the equipment that we bought now for the price that we bought it then, it'd be unheard of. So that was a great opportunity. But the building itself, built in the early 1900s, and this is kind of the interesting story about it. We didn't know when we bought it and had plans to open a brewery here, but it was the old city jail. We just liked the building. We thought it was cool. And I guess if I was paying attention, I would have noticed the bars on the windows in the back. But I really wasn't, that just didn't occur to me. I didn't think about it. Doing some research, trying to find out the history about the building because we wanted to know, town historian told us that it was the old city jail. It was also a fire station at the time and was City Hall where you came to cast your vote and pay your bills. And the upstairs was a courthouse too. So a lot of stuff going on. I mean, this is a small town. Building was built in the early 1900s and it operated as a jail until about the mid 70s. So it's kind of cool because people that have lived here their whole life, they witnessed it. They saw it operate as a jail. They come in, they tell us stories about it. I've even had a time or two where somebody would walk in for our tours and they'd say, "Oh yeah, I remember getting locked up there," which is pretty interesting, So anyway, that's kind of how it came about and how our brand was born, was learning about the history of this building.
Each time I heard y'all's story was simply how difficult it must have been to take over a building like this, especially initially with it being so pushed to the side and nobody taking care of it. But was there any type of community support or backlash in regards to a brewery going into a really historic building?
I think for the most part, people were just interested. It's especially in the South here in Georgia. So at that time, so this would have been 2008 when we bought the building, there were only 3 other production breweries in the state of Georgia. So we were the 4th to actually brick and mortar open a brewery and start selling products. So I think at that time, you always heard everybody was like 10 miles from a brewery. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the average, the number. It's probably even, it's less than that now with so many more breweries opening up all the time. But at that time, that was the figure that I remember. But there's no way that was the case here in Georgia. And so for us to be opening up here in a small town, I think people were just like, "What's going on?" You know? And they were interested for the most part. We didn't really get much backlash. Yeah, we are in the Bible Belt, and you start talking about alcohol, and people start to freak out a little bit. But for the most part, I think people have accepted the fact that we're here, we're part of the community, we give to the community, and we're a positive influence. We're not a negative, black eye on the community by any means. Although sometimes you'll get some grumblings here and there.
That's true.
But it's nothing we've done. It's just that stigma, I guess.
Yeah, and that's definitely to be understood. I want to take this time to thank Glenn Golden from Jailhouse for sitting down with me and telling me his company's story. This clip was actually part of a much larger conversation, so if you'd like to learn more, please email me and I'll send you the full interview. You can reach me at georgiabrewdude@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. We look forward to hearing more from you in future episodes. Keeping with the theme of craft beer aha moments, let's listen in as I chat with Carla Lauder about a craft beer memory she has. She joined me at Foulmouth Brewing for some tasty beers and a really wonderful story. I am sitting today at Foulmouth Brewery, and just calling it a brewery isn't really fair because Foulmouth, it has this amazing food menu and they do all these mixed drinks, and they never have used the word brew pub to describe themselves, but it's like the best brew pub that you could have made up if you're a beer geek.
Yeah, right? I completely agree with that. Yeah.
So this is like the beer geeks brew pub.
Exactly.
And I'm sitting here today with Carla, the beer babe.
Hello.
Hi. So today we're really focusing in on people's craft beer aha moments. And I reached out trying to look for somebody's craft beer aha moment And you quickly reached out and said, I've got one for you.
Yeah.
But it's not yours.
No, it's not mine. It's my dad's, actually.
Right, and I'm all about relationships and building stuff, but I don't want to like take the punchline. So,
right.
So I'm going to let you just go for it.
So I have been writing about beer since about 2007. Doing it online and putting all this stuff online. And I didn't really tell my family about what I was doing for quite some time because it's a little weird, right? You know, your daughter's, going out and drinking beer with people all the time and putting all these details on the internet. It's not really like something I was super anxious to tell them. So my dad,
I absolutely hear you. My dad thinks I'm an alcoholic. That's why I stopped untapping things.
So my dad is kind of a very traditional Italian American. His name is Tony. And he worked with a lot of people that, were involved with crime and all kinds of things where he would always tell me how to protect myself. Don't put personal information about yourself anywhere. Don't do any of that. So I was doubly not eager to tell him that I, was going all over the country and talking to random strangers about beer. So...
Yeah, there's a bunch of red flags in that one.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay. I didn't really want to hear it. Let me put it that way. So... my dad lived in Albany, New York, and my brother and I, once a year, my brother lived in New York City, and I'm living up here in Maine, once a year get together as a family gathering, and we have a pseudo-holiday in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Mm-hmm. And we just call it Festivus, and we have a good time. We have our own little traditions around that. So yeah. We show up one year, and it was probably about 3 years into me writing about beer, and, we're going to have a turkey dinner, we're going to do the, traditional, holiday things, and I walk in the door, and I swear the first thing that my dad said is, hey, I got this new beer, you got to try it. And I'm confused, okay? Because my dad is, he's one of those guys who's drank the same beer his entire life, from Schlitz to Bud Light. That's, as far as he got, as a change, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I'm curious as to what on earth this could possibly be, and he leads me over to the fridge like it's a commercial. He's like, "Come here, I got to show you." And he opens the fridge, and the entire fridge, there's no food in the fridge. The entire fridge is filled with Bud Light Lime.
That's a lot of Bud Light Lime.
That's a lot of Bud Light Lime. First of all, second of all, we're about to eat a turkey dinner, okay? So, I try really hard not to be a craft beer, snob. I try not to judge other people about what they're drinking because, there's a beer out there for everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there going, there's no way that the only booze in this house that we're drinking throughout this whole dinner is going to be lime-flavored and go with turkey. It's just, it's wrong in some kind of, universe.
Yeah, that's how, they were squeezing limes here when we got in, and it's I don't think I really want to eat that. Drink that with a turkey sandwich.
No, it doesn't go well with comfort food. No. I don't know, just no, So my brother had driven us, picked me up and whatever, so I took my brother's keys, and I went around the corner just to some gas station, and I brought home Harpoon Winter Warmer, which is your basic, if you haven't had it, it's your basic winter beer. So it's kind of malt forward, it's got some spices, maybe coriander or something in it to make it feel Christmassy, and it's just your basic ale. So it's all right, cool, I can do this. So I bring home the Harpoon Winter Warmer, and they're finishing up cooking the turkey, and I'm like, great. So I start drinking the Harpoon Winter Warmer, and my dad's like, so what is that? So I kind of slide one across the table to him, and he tries it, and he makes this little not bad face, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, so he likes that, right? So I'm like, this is the first craft beer I have ever seen him touch with a 10-foot pole, right?
Yeah.
So he's asking me about it, and he's, so I give him the mini lecture about ales versus lagers and how tastes change with the season, and you probably don't want lime beer in December, but whatever, But I'm still nervous because I'm like, don't ask me why I know all this stuff, right?
Right.
So I kind of forget about it. We, finish the rest of the holiday. It's fine. So the next year I come up. My brother and I meet him, we're about to have dinner, and my dad, I swear to God, I walk in the door and he goes, I got this new beer, you got to try this. And I'm thinking, now what?
Right.
Pineapple, chilada, what could you have possibly come up with that would be worse than a fridge full of Bud Light Lime?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, it's called Ommegang Rare Voss. And I must have done almost a spit take. I was like, what? Because... So, again, to those who don't know, Ommegang Rare Voss is a Belgian-style beer. It's very yeast-forward. It's, super fancy, and it's kind of expensive, and it comes in big, huge bottles with shiny gold labels and everything. And I'm like,
it's a beer drink, a craft beer drinker's beer.
It's a craft beer drinker's beer, and it's a Belgian-style beer. So to go from Bud Light Lime to that
1 year. Good job, Dad.
Which is, I was like, what on earth? So because he lived in Albany, New York, the brewery for Omegang is actually very close by in Cooperstown. And they had Rare Voss on tap, like, at most of the bars that he hung out in, which was, I didn't realize it until then, really weird, but cool. I was like, wow, you have this just on tap? It's kind of like as if we had, it's kind of like what we have where the Allagash is on tap everywhere and we just take it for granted, right?
Right.
So I asked him, I was like, how did you, he just got curious. Basically, I had piqued his curiosity with that first beer, like that everything could taste different. So he was just one day at the bar watching people ordering that beer and had them pour him one, and he was like, I really like that. And I'm like, okay. Great. And so, and he had and then I come to find out after dinner, after we've had several of these beers, he said that he had Googled the beer, and he had found my blog.
Oh.
So he and I, of course, then start talking about beer. So he has, like, now 1 million questions about beer. So we had this huge conversation. But what was kind of cool is that my parents divorced when I was in high school, like early college. And when I was at college, I kind of, like, got distant from my dad. I always related with my mom because I guess, I'm a girl, whatever, we were close. And it's just kind of like, all right, so I hadn't really, like, gotten to know my dad as an adult, really, like as someone other than my dad.
Right.
So we kind of had this, like, common bond start just because he started drinking crappy beer one year, and then he reached out after that. And my favorite part of this is that he still, to this day, texts me when he's at a bar, and he goes, they have this, this, and this on tap. Which one will I like? Because he really doesn't like IPAs at all. And he really likes Belgian-style beer, which thankfully it's easier for him to find now than it was. Like, he lives in Florida now, and he's drinking all this Cigar City cracker and, white cracker and all of the, biscuity, Belgian weird stuff that they do. And I'm just like, and he's like, yeah, there's this brewery down here called Cigar or something. I'm like, he's in the land of awesome beer, and I'm just sitting here going, and he's going, I don't know, I never heard of those people. It's hilarious to me. But what's really fun is that was his moment that I think I just like, it was like a gateway to, okay, maybe this craft stuff isn't so silly or isn't, scary or whatever.
Right.
Because when you drink the same beer over and over again, and you see all these young people, just kind of drinking, all this stuff, and it's expensive, and it's different colored, and it's like got, weird fruits and flavors and all this junk in it. It's easy to just go, that's a fad. I don't want to be involved in that at all. But I think once you hit that threshold, of just crossing a line of try it. What's the worst that can happen, really?
Right.
You go, no, I don't like that at all. Or you do what my dad did and go, that's kind of neat. I wonder if there's more like that. So, so I encourage everybody, I love to try to help people find beer that they might like.
Yeah.
Because there are so many different flavors in beer.
I know.
That you don't have to like an IPA, and you don't have to like a Belgian beer, and you don't have to like a sour beer. There's so much more in between, and it's just fun.
Yeah. I always say that, unless there's a reason that you can't have beer.
Yeah.
That if you don't quote unquote like beer, it's because you haven't met your beer.
Oh, I like that. Yeah,
I feel like I'm a beer matchmaker.
Yes, that's so great.
Right.
Oh, totally. Because like the people who like coffee are going to like the roastier beers more than they're going to like the some of the hoppier stuff.
Right.
The people who really are into it's just so fun to find the little entry point. Like, what's the entry point? And for my dad, it was the spiciness of that, like, kind of winter beer that got him into playing around with the Belgians, and I'm just like, that is so cool. He still thinks they're too expensive, though, but that's...
Well, I mean, I think that...
compared to the, $2 at the bar to get a Bud Light versus the, $6 to get a glass of whatever is...
I mean... To be honest, sometimes I'm like, holy, I can't.
I know.
I'm just going to do it anyways, but this just feels so bad to my pocketbook. I try not to look
too long at my receipt whenever I go to Navarre Res. I just kind of like sign it and do the math for the tip and then try to forget how much that costs. All worth it, though. It's delicious.
It is delicious.
But I try not to think too much per transaction if I can help it.
Yeah, the purse strings definitely talk to me and say, stop this. But then the logical...
Like, have you had this? And you're like... Well, no, and it might not be here next time you're here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, and, I mean, we both know the industry enough to know, like, they're not making a ton of money on these things.
No.
So, it makes sense. But, I think that definitely, there are these little moments in time. And if you can find those, and I love that, beer really brought you and your dad together. And I think you're right. I get those text messages, too, from my mom.
Yeah.
She'll be like... But hers are all, like, when she's on a road trip, she'll be like, which one do you want me to bring you home?
Oh,
and
that's so cute.
If I don't answer the text, she'll call me and be like, you better pick, like, or vice versa, and be like, double calling. Like, if you want something, let's do this.
Yeah, like
Hurry it
right
up.
now.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So I really do think that, craft beer has the way to bring us all together.
And I think it is a relationship builder, just in the fact that it's fun to talk about too.
Yeah.
It's what are you're drinking one that's made with Girl Scout cookies? How crazy, like it's stuff like that where it's just it's if nothing else something to start a conversation about.
Exactly.
And that's what life is about, right?
Absolutely.
Relationships and conversations.
And if people would like to continue this conversation with you, where can they find you?
The best place to converse with me is actually on Twitter. So I'm at BeerBabe there. I'm also on Facebook, and then my writing is found in the Bollard Online and a couple of other random places. But I usually send out links of where else I can be found. But if you want to chat, at BeerBabe is the best way to get me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
And cheers.
Cheers.
Well, there you have it, folks. Episode 101 is in the books. If you would like to learn how you can be a correspondent, there will be links over on our show notes. And of course, don't forget, Justin puts together some wonderful show notes for you all to look at. They are great. You got to go over there and check them out yourself. You can do that by going to greatbeeradventure.com/podcast. Once again, that's greatbeeradventure.com/podcast. We will be back in 2 weeks with another episode, much like this one. This time we're going to be focusing in on tasting rooms and all of the different ones that we can come across. Until then, chat soon, friends. Cheers.